the biggest faith is faith in humanity these days. I think we're all losing faith in humanity because of those news that only highlighted that sensational part. Do you know that that's only probably less than 20% of the world, and there's 80% of the world doing so much good, and it's just nobody wants to say anything because it's not newsworthy. But actually there's 80% of the world, like right here in Buddhism-dot-net, no news write-ups about this. I think that there is something wrong with the way people want to sensationalize news.
This person says she keeps forgetting to be mindful.
It is not your fault, actually. It is not our fault. It's this system. This whole system is so distracting. Our life has been extremely distracted. So knowing that, it means that we have to cultivate our attention. Our attention is being trafficked by social media, by mobile devices, and now by generative artificial intelligence. So nirvana and samadhi are part of our practice. After we finish practicing, we must let it go. And we don't feel that I must go to nirvana, I must go to nirvana. You know what it's like. The more you try to get wanting something, the further that goal is. The minute we can just make the best use of the moment, nirvana will come.
You know the prayer, like, God, give me patience now. Friends, welcome to episode 32 of Venerables. 1 hour of live dharma and dialogue where you get to talk directly to a respected venerable. I'm Ming, co-founder of Buddhism-dot-net and your host. Today we continue to have our dear friend, the very awesome Venerable Dr. Juewei, Director of Nantian Institute's Humanistic Buddhism Center and Head of Program for the Institute's Applied Buddhist Studies and Humanistic Buddhist Program. Humanistic Buddhism Program. So today we will explore the 6th of 8 realizations of great beings. Venerable will unpack for us a little bit what Buddhists mean by wisdom. I mean, you keep hearing Buddhists say a lot, like wisdom and compassion, wisdom and compassion. But what does wisdom mean? Venerable Juewei will show us. As usual, Venerable will speak for roughly 30 minutes and then answer your questions live. As a reminder, this session will be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube later. And if you're comfortable doing so, we'd like to invite you to please turn on your camera so that Venerable can see your lovely faces on her screen. With that, my dear Venerable, over to you.
Thank you very much, Meng. And auspicious greetings to all my Vibe with Venerables friends. Well, happy last day of February for those of us in the Asian, Australian time zone. And for those of you in the American time zone, you will reach the last day of February soon too. So let us once again begin by taking in an image that may be familiar with many of you. So please allow me to share screen. Okay, let's check in. Slowly and gently observe this image of 8 stacked stones on the screen. Allow your mind and the thoughts to gently converge on that image. There's no need to stare at it. Just allow the light rays to enter your eyes as they will. Allow those rays to make an impression in your consciousness. And as they do so, pay attention to the details. Do not use too much effort. Now when you're ready, please close your eyes. And we will begin with a body scan. Place your attention to the top of your head. and relax. Relax our forehead. Relax our eyes. Relax our facial muscles. Relax our jaws. Relax our ears. Relax our neck. Shoulders. Relax. Relax our upper arms. Forearms. Palms. And fingers. Relax. Relax our back. Relax our torso. Relax our thigh muscles, calf muscles, feet, and toes. Allow our entire body to relax. Gently bring your attention to the tip of your nose and observe every in-breath and out-breath with no effort, no control, and no judgment. Simply learning to observe. As we unclutter our mind, I'd like to invite you to welcome the previous image of the 8 stacked stones back into your consciousness. What do you recall of that image? How many stones could you see with your eyes closed? What do you observe as the texture of the stones, the colors? What's in the background? Just allow that image to return to your consciousness. And when you're ready, please feel free to open your eyes and allow the entire Zoom platform to enter your consciousness. Thank you for checking in with me. So let's get started. Last Saturday's or last week's chat stream reflected a rich tapestry of our personal struggles, societal concerns, and a collective quest for understanding and guidance in Buddhist practice. The concerns raised in the chat stream reflected a deep engagement with the realities of suffering, its causes, and the possibility of cessation and the path towards liberation. I can see that you are guided by both your personal journey and the teachings in these awakenings. Hence, I shall summarize what we have learned so far by placing your comments into the appropriate boxes. First, the awakening to the true nature of all things we know as impermanent. Certainly, this Vibe with Venerable series is a good testament to that. We are now already into our 6th episode together from January and to the end of February. Impermanence, nature of all things. But in the chat stream last week, you have also mentioned the feelings of pain regarding seeing the conditions of your country and the planet and changes in the algorithms to promote discontent and consumerism. These comments reflected your awareness of the impermanence of conditions in society and the suffering that arise from them. You have witnessed change for the worse and are very concerned. That indeed is our first awakening. The second awakening is that our desires are insatiable and only lead us to want more and more. Did you realize that our judging mind and feelings of anger towards those who do harm to us or to others can also lead to our attachment to those negative emotions and suffering? So beware of attachments. But there is hope, as exemplified by the third awakening. By understanding the Buddhist teaching of dependent origination, we realize that we can break that cycle caused by craving with contentment in the present and by seeking wisdom to reduce our ignorance that was a cause from the past. Some of you pointed out that recognizing contentment with our own qualities and achievements can lead to wisdom and peace. Bravo! In the fourth awakening, you have noted that laziness leads to attachment to comfort and the desire for more comfort, which eventually leads to an untenable situation of suffering. That, unfortunately, is the stickiness of our karmic tendencies that will bring us back into our cycle of life and death. Hence, we need to practice diligence to overcome laziness so as to accumulate wholesome karmic tendencies and get rid of the unwholesome ones. So after this quick revision, we should appreciate the importance of wisdom to cut away our defilements. Let's reflect on what may be our most significant barrier to achieving wisdom. You're allowed only one choice. Do you find your most significant barrier to be the lack of understanding of impermanence, attachment to desires, lack of contentment with the present moment, laziness and lack of consistent effort, or other? If you have other significant barriers, please enter it into the chat stream. As you can see, I'm trying to relate these options back to our awakenings. Which of these awakenings do you find the hardest to practice? It should not be taking too long to think. It should be probably giving it a few moments to let it sink in. But what comes straight to your mind? And if you have listed other, I would really love to see what other barriers you are facing in your life. So please feel free to use the chats if you are comfortable to share. I see that so far, it looks like the lack of consistent effort is one of our biggest barriers. So the awakening from last week was pretty, hopefully useful to you. followed by attachment to desires. That's wonderful. And we've got some comments in the chat, which I guess I will look at a little later. So please keep that in mind in terms of what areas you need to work harder on. And let me move on to the sutra. So let's now recite the sutra together to see how the teachings may sit with us today. Sutra of the Eight Realizations of Great Beings. For all disciples of the Buddha, each morning and night, recite with a sincere mind these 8 realizations of a bodhisattva. First, realize that this world is impermanent and that nations are dangerous and fragile. The 4 great elements lead to suffering and are empty, and the 5 aggregates are without a self. All things arise, cease, change, and become different. They are illusory, not real, and cannot be controlled. The mind is the source of unwholesomeness, and the body is a gathering of wrongdoings. Contemplate this, and you will gradually turn away from the cycle of birth and death. Second, realize that more desire causes suffering. The weariness of the cycle of birth and death arises from greed and desire. Lessen desire and be without any wishes, and the body and mind will be at ease. Third, realize that the mind cannot be satisfied, but only seeks more, increasing its wrongdoing and unwholesomeness. Bodhisattvas are not like this. They are always satisfied with what they have, is peaceful in poverty, and upholds the way. Wisdom is their only concern. Fourth, realize that laziness leads to downfall. Be diligent and break through the evil of the affliction. Defeat the 4 kinds of Mara and escape the prison of the 5 aggregates in 3 realms. Fifth, realize that ignorance gives rise to the cycle of birth and death. Bodhisattvas are always mindful. Study widely, listen more, increase their wisdom, and become more eloquent in order to teach all beings great joy. I'm now going to do what I have been doing in the past few weeks. Think back to your most significant barrier to achieving wisdom. Whether it be lacking of understanding of impermanence, attachment to desires, lack of contentment with the present moment, lack of consistent effort, or others. What does this 5th awakening mean to you? Please feel free to post your thoughts in the chat stream. And if you agree with what others already said in the chat stream, please feel free to add a reaction. I see that you have some takeaway from just the sutra text itself. For example, that bodhisattvas are always mindful. And certainly, lack of understanding of the different forms of suffering, yes. Mindfulness and wisdom, perhaps that's something we can talk about later. Listen more to increase wisdom, thank you. So please keep posting in the chats. And also, I invite you, if you have questions anytime during my sharing with you, please feel free to post your questions in the chat. Ming will diligently monitor the chats, and later on, he'll share your questions. So the 6th awakening of great beings ends with great joy. The greatest joy one can get, according to Buddhists, is nirvana, or the transcendence of the cycle of rebirths. Bodhisattvas use wisdom to attain nirvana? Well, I have very little wisdom, but I'm very fortunate to have had a great teacher, Venerable Master Xing Yun. Hence, what I'm about to share with you today are largely from the teachings of my teacher when he taught this particular awakening. So as we explore Buddhist wisdom, what is it? It's really positioned as the foundation for transforming ignorance. So then, we should first appreciate what ignorance is. Now, ignorance in Buddhism does not mean the complete lack of knowledge. We can see from the Chinese character for ignorance, which is chi. This character is originally the character zhi, which is knowledge, with a sickness radical above it. When knowledge becomes diseased, that is ignorance. And because of ignorance, one creates confusion and karma, revolves in birth and death, and suffers endless pain. Unable to achieve liberation or recognize oneself, this is all due to ignorance. In the previous episode, we have explored ignorance as the source of our cyclical rebirths through the Buddha's teaching of dependent origination. Hence, I shall not elaborate that here, but just put up that little picture as a memory trigger. There are two types of ignorance: ignorance in views and ignorance in mental states. So let's start with the ignorance in views. There are 5 wrong views. They are self-view, extreme views, wrong views, attachment to precepts and practices, and attachment to views. Most people cling to the 5 aggregates of the body as self and external things as belonging to self, not knowing that this self-body is composed of the 4 elements and the 5 aggregates through causes and conditions. And external things are also illusory states, impermanent and unable to last long. Body and objects are clearly provisional existence through causes and conditions. Yet beings like us take the false as true, take emptiness as existence, and cling to the body as self. This is the meaning of self-view. So one such example is how the change of weather conditions may cause us to feel too hot or catch a cold. That is all to do with our 4 elements coexisting inharmoniously. Instead of accepting that we should just treat the sickness, we blame the weather or the malfunctioned air conditioner or heater. So that is ignorance. Now, extreme views. Some people think that after death, everything returns to nothing. There's a saying, when people die, the lamp goes out. Or some people insist that after death, people remain as people, animals remain as animals. Such views of permanence and annihilation are called extreme views. Next, wrong view. There are people who think that the movement of sun, moon, and stars and the timely occurrence of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning must be controlled by an almighty God or some supernatural power. Believing in the omnipotence of such supernatural power while denying cause and effect and not understanding dependent origination, to Buddhists, that's called wrong view. Now on to attachment to precepts and practices. There are people who cling to unreasonable practices, thinking they are methods for ascending to heaven and receiving bliss, such as some people who cultivate austerities or folk practices of killing animals for sacrifice and worship. That we call attachment to precepts and practices. Clinging to one or more of the previous four views, not knowing that they are delusory, that they are erroneous, thinking that those will lead them to ultimate truth, that's called attachment to views. So what then is ignorance in mental states? These are commonly called the 5 mental afflictions, which are greed, hatred, delusion, arrogance, and doubt. Greed is quite easy to appreciate. Seeing what one likes generates attachment. Greed and love for something creates stinginess, and because of self-greed and self-love in the heart, selfishness forms. That is greed. Hatred is not difficult to understand either. When encountering what violates one's wishes, anger arises. Unable to be patient in all matters, fighting and quarreling with others, plotting harm. Well, blaming others. That all counts as hatred. Then now, being dull and lacking wisdom, willfully indulging in emotions and chasing material desires, hearing good and generating disgust, seeing evil and taking pleasure, all these are examples of delusion. It's confusion. Now, when we feel superior to others, bullying and oppressing others, having various forms of pride, those are called arrogance. Finally, being hesitant and undecided about principles, not developing right faith in truth, measuring holy wisdom with ordinary emotions, all that is doubt. People experience birth and death because of the above ignorance in views and mental states. But there are 2 types of births and deaths, fragmentary and transformational. Fragmentary birth and death refers to us going in the 3 realms and the 6 paths that we talked about before because we are tainted in many ways. And most of us, fragmentary birth and death. But sages who have attained realization, but as long as they have not become Buddha, they go through transformational birth and death. With each lifetime, delusion gradually disappears, realization gradually increases. And I'd like to think that as we come to every Vibe with Venerable session, we go through this transformational birth and death, episode by episode. So awakened Bodhisattvas will certainly find ways to leave ignorance and birth and death. In the Bodhisattva's heart, the hope is to broadly study worldly and transcendent dharmas, hear holy teachings, increase wisdom, achieve unobstructed eloquence, teach and transform all sentient beings, giving everyone happiness and spreading joy throughout the human world. To do so, novices have to enroll in a course called Bodhisattva Path. And one of the course learning outcomes is wisdom. The course contains 3 core subjects. The first is ethical discipline, or sometimes called morality or precepts. The second subject is called meditative concentration, sometimes simply called meditation. And the third subject is called wisdom. In the subject of wisdom, students are expected to master 3 learning activities in order to acquire wisdom from hearing, wisdom from contemplation, and wisdom from practicing. Master Tai Xu, an early proponent of humanistic Buddhism or Buddhism in the human realm, said, I quote, "Through wisdom from hearing, establish faith. Through wisdom from contemplation, strictly uphold precepts. Through wisdom from practicing, settle the mind correspondingly." Unquote. Why does wisdom from hearing establish faith? Because through hearing Buddha Dharma, one gains wisdom to understand that we can generate firm faith. As the saying goes, Buddha Dharma is like a great ocean. only faith can one enter. The first step through Buddhism's door is having faith. And this faith must be established on wisdom from hearing. In my humble opinion, the biggest faith we need to inculcate today is faith in humanity. Faith that there is Buddha nature and that humans have the innate ability to do good. By hearing the Buddha Dharma, we can establish such faith in Buddha nature in every human. Second, why does wisdom from contemplation lead to strict observance of precepts? Because the faith arising from hearing the Buddha Dharma will manifest in behavior through our mental construction. Wisdom from hearing reveals to us the standard for good and evil in thought, speech, and action. Wisdom from contemplation is wisdom that unifies knowledge and practice. It is wisdom that cuts off all evil and practices all good. Through wisdom from thinking, one can perfect moral conduct. Why does wisdom from practicing correspond with a settled mind? Because wisdom from hearing is faith and understanding. Wisdom from contemplation is practice and observance. While wisdom from practicing means cultivating the mind to skilled purity and achieving contentment and meditative concentration. When body and mind are settled in meditative concentration, one feels extremely light, peaceful, and tranquil. This is wisdom from practicing. So as you can see, the core subjects and the learning activities are mutually reinforcing, offering all novice bodhisattvas constant access to both theory and practice. This is why this awakening, it mentions that bodhisattvas are always mindful and increase their wisdom. In early Buddhism, the three-tier structure of Buddhist training of ethical discipline, meditative concentration, and wisdom argues that moral discipline is the basis for concentration, which in turn supports wisdom. With proper bodily, verbal, and mental conduct, practitioners can develop meditative concentration. With ethical self-discipline and mental self-cultivation, they can attain personal enlightenment to see things as they really are, or achieve a view of the true nature of reality. The Buddha teaches us a profound way to understand our existence by highlighting that ignorance is the root cause of suffering. He encourages us to see beyond the distortions created by our senses, which often lead us to chase fleeting pleasures, mistakenly believing they will bring happiness. By recognizing the biases shaped by our cravings and attachments, we can begin to free ourselves from the cycles of rebirth and suffering. This insight allows us to cultivate wisdom and let go of attachments, ultimately guiding us toward a more peaceful and fulfilling life. In embracing this path, we learn to discern reality clearly, overcome our ignorance, and find liberation from suffering. Wisdom in Mahayana Buddhism is often described by the term prajna paramita, which means the perfection of wisdom or perfected wisdom. Mahayana Buddhists believe that the wisdom of early Buddhists is not enough. This is because early Buddhists are still attached to the idea of existence and cessation of their experiences. Therefore, they continue to create conditions for samsara in this way. Instead, the Mahayana path is seen by the Mahayana Buddhists, obviously, to be more superior because it includes the realization of a higher state that recognizes the anti-nature of all dharmas, not just the self. So even the concept of samsara and nirvana are empty in nature. So this prajna paramita state of perfected wisdom does not arise from conscious cognitive effort, but from practice. So bodhisattvas are famous for their altruistic bodhisattva path that is dedicated towards enlightenment for the sake of all living beings because of their emphasis on that practice of altruism. So back to the text of this fifth awakening, after this very long detour on wisdom. Beginning bodhisattvas wanting to increase wisdom should start with broad learning and extensive listening. Broad learning means broadly cultivating the three learnings of moral discipline, meditative concentration, and wisdom. And we've said quite a fair bit about that earlier. So think of, for example, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, her perfect penetration of the Year faculty when practicing extensive listening. She contemplates the sounds of the world, being fully present in the moment, setting aside distractions, both external and internal, to focus entirely on the teachings being shared. I think of approaching listening with an open heart and a genuine desire to understand. That means listening without preconceived notions or judgments, but allowing the teachings to resonate without filtering them through our biases. Through these Vibe with Venerable sessions, I have often invited you to listen deeply and actively by engaging the teachings with questions, comments, and insight. I hope you will also reflect on the hour by summarizing what you heard in your own words before the end of each day. This will help to deepen your understanding and retention. So a bodhisattva who liberates self and others through broad learning and extensive listening to increase wisdom aims not only for personal liberation, but to achieve eloquence and teach and transform all, giving beings great peace and happiness. Speaking of teaching Dharma to liberate beings, most important is to have unobstructed eloquence. Eloquence is not debate or worldly clever speech. In fact, eloquence has 4 types, as I've placed on the screen here. 1, unobstructed eloquence in the Dharma. That means fluency in the teachings. 2nd, unobstructed eloquence in meaning, which means understanding the meanings expressed by the teachings. 3rd, unobstructed eloquence in expressions, the ability to master various languages fluently and freely. And last, unobstructed eloquence in joyful speech. That means the ability to speak joyfully and freely for everyone. So finally, we've got it. The first 5 awakenings of the Bodhisattvas, my friends. In the face of impermanence, the Bodhisattvas recognize the transient nature of all things. First awakening. Second awakening teaches the Bodhisattvas to loosen their grip on anything they desire. Third awakening, to be contented with whatever life offers. Fourth awakening, to recognize our strength of our karmic tendencies and to overcome unwholesome habits with diligent effort. And today, we've come to the 5th awakening of seeking out Buddhist wisdom in order to teach and thereby liberate others. So once again, I welcome your insights or questions for discussion, either on screen or through the chat. And for that, I hand you back to our great facilitator, Ming.
Thank you, dear Venerable. So we just experienced wisdom by hearing. And now let's take an opportunity to digest what Venerable just taught us. By doing wisdom by practice. Right? First, we settle the mind by bringing attention to our breath, recognizing that even this one moment is wisdom by practice. And then let's think about what Venerable just taught us and how this affects our life. And recognizing that this alone is wisdom by contemplation. Thank you, my friends. So that was like practices of all three wisdom in about a minute. You see how lazy I am. All my practices like a minute or less. By the way, talking about wisdom, one of the key wisdom is the ability to count. And that's why, this guy doesn't have it because I didn't have the ability to count. So I made a mistake in the beginning also. This is not the sixth uh, uh, realization of gravity. This is the fifth. And this is Venerable's sixth appearance. So I made a mistake. I apologize. And I will learn to count as part of my wisdom training. With that, my friends, if you have a question, just feel free to raise your hand on Zoom, and then I can invite you to unmute yourself. Venerable, I have a question from the chat for you. So this is about mindfulness. So this person, let me see, let me try to get the question correctly. This person say she keeps forgetting to be mindful, and she gets swept up by sense objects a lot. Do you have a solution or a suggestion for that?
Sorry, did you say get swept up in what?
By sense objects.
Oh, by sense objects.
Yes. By handsome faces like this.
That's right. It is not your fault, actually. It is not our fault. It's this system. This whole system is so distracting. Our life has been extremely distracted. Think of what the mobile devices are doing to us. So knowing that, it means that we have to cultivate our attention. Our attention is being trafficked by social media, by mobile devices, and now by generative artificial intelligence. So I would first say, if you can, reduce contact time with that device, because that will start us. Well, first, that will give us a bit more time in our lives. And with that time, we will be in a better position to practice all the good things that we have learned. And I'm sure with that, you'll see yourself improving and getting that clarity, that mental clarity.
Thank you. Remember, if you don't mind, I'd like to add a bit to that. So I like to suggest that noticing that you're not mindful is an important practice. Just the noticing itself is the practice. And here's why. When you're doing mindfulness practice, there are actually two faculties that you are developing. The first is a faculty of attention, right? So you're bring attention to the breath. For example, you're learning to attend to the breath, attend to this, attend to that. But there's a second one, which a lot of people are not aware of, which is meta attention. So meta attention is attention of attention. What does that mean? That means the ability to know that you have been distracted, the ability to know that you're not mindful. And how is that relevant? The more if it kicks in, so it's like riding a bicycle. What is the secret of keeping balance? It is the ability to recover very quickly, right? So if you're a tiny bit, just recover. And because you keep recovering, you get the illusion of continuous balance. And this is the power of meta attention. It's like if you can notice very quickly, within like a fraction of a second, you're distracted, you bring back identity, bring it back. And because the time it takes to notice that you're not having mindfulness is so short, and you bring it back immediately, you get the illusion of continuous attention. And then eventually you get actual continuous attention. And it comes from this faculty, the faculty of meta attention. So therefore, if you find yourself losing your concentration, not a problem. That is success because now you are practicing your meta attention. So with that, my friends, we have a question from Micah. Micah, please unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm Venerable.
Hello.
My question is, you said samadhi and nirvana are ignorance. Could you speak more on that? And also, what should be our goal in life, if not samadhi and nirvana?
I Don't believe I said that samadhi and nirvana are ignorance. What I was saying when we looked at prajna paramita is that in Mahayana Buddhism, it's warning us against attachment to
Oh, it's
these
attachment. Okay.
concepts,
Yes.
to these concepts. And the minute we have an attachment to something, therefore we become fixated on it and it's craving. So at a higher level, we need to also let go of such concepts, loosen the grip.
Yes.
Okay.
Not that it is ignorance,
Yeah.
but the attachment to it is the ignorance.
So our goal still is nirvana and samadhi?
So nirvana and samadhi are part of our practice. After we finish practicing, we must let it go. And we don't feel that I must go to nirvana, I must go to nirvana. You know what it's like. The more you try to get wanting something, the further that goal is. All we do is to be present in the moment, practice like what the practice, for example, for bodhisattvas, the 6 perfections. Practice generosity, which is what we're going to talk about next. Practice contentment. The minute we can just make the best use of the moment, hear as much Dharma as possible, contemplate as much as possible, be ethical in our behavior, nirvana will come when the time is right, the conditions are right. Thank you, Michael. I hope that helps.
You know the prayer, like, God, give me patience now. Yes, I think to clarify, Venerable Juewei did not say that samadhi and nirvana are ignorance. What she says is they are selfless. They are without self. And because they're without self, therefore, they're not things to be attached to. And by the way, Venerable, also in the early Buddhist scriptures, that is also mentioned, but it's just I think what Mahayana did as a service is to emphasize it more. So yes, and let's see, we have a question from Shara. Shara, please unmute yourself.
Yes, good morning or good evening. Hello, Venerable Juewei and Meng. Actually, Venerable Juewei already answered after the question of Michael, because my question was, I'm often confused about cultivating towards wisdom to remove my ignorance and liberate from suffering for myself and for others. But at the same time, learning that bodhisattvas are aware that even precepts, dharmas, attainment are all empty. So the emphasis is on non-attachment, which Venerable answered earlier. So yes, it's about non-attachment. So it helped that Venerable said or reminded us that just live in the moment, practice in the moment, and that's enough. Like you build on it every moment and not be attached. So the question was answered already. And thank you for Michael asking the question also earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay! I think this is called reinforced learning, Meng, and we love that.
Yes.
Actually, most of us have similar phase of practice. We are in that band. We are all trying our best, but life throws us many challenges to test us. And therefore, having a community like this, the Vibe with Venerables, allows us to come together to examine and to reflect off one another. I think Meng and I are simply just, no, I don't speak for Meng, I speak for myself. All I'm doing is just as I guess as a catalyst in that process. I don't have all the answers. I'm not awakened yet. And I'm definitely not a big bodhisattva.
You're so modest. Yes. Yeah, you're so modest, and you're also so modest to say we are the same band. I mean, from my perspective, you're always ahead. I'm like,
not at all, not at all.
Thank you. Dia, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for this wonderful session. Really appreciate it. And as I was able to practice listening today, and my question actually is related to that. And it really resonated with me when it was mentioned that listening is hand in hand with trust. And I was wondering, because of the world right now, is do you have any suggestions how I can cultivate that more?
Correct, which is why I said earlier, the biggest faith is faith in humanity these days, because I think we're all losing faith in humanity because of those news that only highlighted that sensational part. Do you know that that's only probably less than 20% of the world, and there's 80% of the world doing so much good, and it's just nobody wants to say anything because it's not newsworthy. But actually, there's 80% of the world, like right here in Buddhism-dot-net, who is doing so much good, but it's not advertised anywhere. And no news write-ups about this. I think that there is something wrong with the way people want to sensationalize news. And this is what I worry about generative AI, because it is probably pushing out things that will bring in more, they're persuading people. And I'm not at all optimistic that the goals are always innocent. And so that's the reason why I always encourage the pause. That's a very good practice. Not
pause. No, not this pause.
not this pause, but the pause. Because the pause is what helps us to just stop, reflect. Is this the right thing? Is this the only thing? And therefore, critical thinking. Ability to go and search. What are the alternatives? That is what's going to bring us faith. That there is still so much goodness in the world. Your neighbors, trust them, right? You have neighbors, you have friends, you have this community. When you have all this, can you not have faith? I mean, after each of these Dharma sessions, I often feel that there's so much hope in the world. But if I don't go to this and I keep doom scrolling, I will feel really hopeless about the world. Yes, sure, there is climate change, climate's getting extreme, but at the same time, you're seeing everybody trying their best, right? So many vegan restaurants out there now, vegetarian restaurants, much more than in the past. People are changing their diet to save the environment. Look at those protests out there, and they're the young people. There are all these youths who are now withdrawing from this capitalist society as well. There are many people are rethinking their lives, and they don't want to be like their parents, just stuck in that rat race. There is hope. Have faith.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable. That was very useful. If I don't re-emphasize something you just said, which is to one key reason we don't have faith in humanity is because our views are we call it biased towards the negative, and because negativity is easier to monetize. That's why they're out there in the news, and the solution is therefore to get a actually more accurate picture of humanity, and to do that by also becoming aware of the good.
Even if everything is not right today, believe in the impermanent nature of the world. It will change as
That's
long
true.
as we keep that spinning, we keep the Dharma wheel turning. It will change.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm not going to. Okay, I'll tell the joke. If things are bad, don't worry, they only get worse. Kidding. It's a joke. Okay, let's see. I think we have time for one question, but I'll tell you what. There are two questions on chat. I'll tell you what they are. One question asks about the link between mindfulness and wisdom. So what's the link? The other one asks, how can we help people who don't believe in Buddhism, who don't have faith in Buddha nature? So the Buddha encouraged investigation. And what example in life can we give to those people that we all have Buddha nature?
So
whenever
don't talk about,
can pick a question. Yeah.
I think instead of Buddha nature, just think in terms of a virtuous person. There are many virtuous people that you can point to in the world. So Meng being one of them. So Meng, who gave up his career in order to dedicate himself to Buddhism. And there's a lot of virtuous people in the world. Point to that. And point to that to say how they've come about. Point to their life's journey. We must have faith in that. So Buddha is simply I would say, a goal, Buddhahood. I'm not Buddhist, I don't believe in the Buddha, but I'm a human. And as a human, we can point to our teachers. We can point to some of the many stories that we can look at in the world. Depending on which country we are in, we can point to different leaders or different scientists and their life. Now, about the link between meditation or mindfulness and wisdom. We have to be very careful that attachment to any of these concepts is not wise. What
attachment to wisdom is not wise.
That's right.
It's very meta.
Any form of attachment is going to create trouble for us. So recognize that we are on the path of practice. For now, perhaps sitting 10 minutes a day is what we should be doing. But maybe as we go on with our practice, it would be just being very attentive in everything that we do, because we have already cultivated that ability to be present any time of the day. Yes.
Okay. Remember, may I add to that? Knowing, okay, I preface that what Venerable just said, don't be attached to the concepts, don't be attached to wisdom. But I'd like to share a little bit of my own experience with mindfulness and how that links to wisdom. And it begins with a simple thing, like being able to pay attention more. And then it progresses to something, again, Venerable just talked about earlier, the pause. And there's a word, it's the sacred pause. Right? It's like before you react, before you go like, I'm going to shout at you, there's a moment of pausing, and then the moment changes everything. So after a while, mindfulness allows you to develop that ability, the ability to abide in the sacred pause. So that was life-changing in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then it goes, yes.
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, and then it goes beyond that. And then for me, continued mindfulness to the body, it allows me to start recognizing my own emotion, and to some degree to regulate emotion to the degree of equanimity. And I wrote a whole book about it. Yes, it's called Search Inside Yourself.
That's right.
and then it goes beyond that for me. It went from that, not just equanimity. Within equanimity, there is joy. So there is a joy in my body, like all the time. And so I wrote another book about it. It's called Joy on Demand. But it goes beyond that. Yeah, there's something else even more powerful. And it was hinted by the Buddha. The Buddha in the Satipatthana Sutta, he says that if you abide only in 7 days of perfect mindfulness, you can attain enlightenment. Just 7 days. Don't even need like a year, 7 days. But of course, it's very hard to get 7 days of perfect enlightenment. But I get a sense of a tiny sense of how it worked. And my sense, again, Venerable can disagree with me. My sense is if mindfulness is strong enough, there's an aspect of mind called the mano. The mano is related to thinking, planning, and also, most importantly, the creation of selfness. This sense that there's this self to experience stuff. And with the stronger mindfulness is, the weaker mano becomes. And the mano, when it reaches a certain level of calmness, there is one begins to break through, to see non-selfness. And that non-selfness is the beginning of wisdom. So at least that's how I experience it.
The important part is that 7 days without a digital device.
Okay, no Facebook for 7 days. We have a question from Luis about we're out of time. Maybe Luis, I'll just quickly talk about a question, and then if we have no time, sorry. And then we can answer it next week if we have no time. Yes, please unmute yourself, Louisa.
Okay. So a while ago, you were talking about the humans, our people are basically, not all are bad news. There are still there are lots of people around the world that are very good, right? So when I watch when I follow the YouTube, the Walk for Peace, I'm sure many are aware of that in US, right? And so you see they walk along, and then so millions of people, online, and then on that in US, they're lining up and everybody's praying. Still wishing. Humans want peace. They want love and compassion. And also they know what is called mindfulness now. So there's a change, right? A big change. That's what I want to share with you.
Thank
Basically, humans really wanted the same thing. They are good, right?
you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So now next time I will start a vegetarian restaurant called Walk for Peace. Sorry,
I know.
another stupid joke.
But what a great way to end this Q&A session. What a good reminder.
Thank you. So closing, over to you, Venerable.
So I'd just like to close with a few announcements. On Wednesday, March 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be part of a panel discussion on what it means to be in right relationship with AI. I'm not sure I have any answers, but I'm sure my fellow panelists who are very wise will do. So this virtual event is open to all if you are interested. And if you'd like to join communities similar to Vibe with Venerables, you're welcome to consider our Sunday check-in sessions. And finally, NTI's competitive international scholarships available for postgraduate studies, but the closing date is approaching. So apply if you would like to be considered for the next round. So Meng, finally, shall we check out together?
Yes, please.
So a prayer for the people who listen to the Dharma by Venerable Master Xing Yun. O great compassionate Buddha, please guide us in understanding cause and effect and karmic retribution clearly. Please guide us in exalting loving kindness, compassion, and equanimity. Please guide us in respectfully upholding the 5 precepts and the 10 wholesome conducts. Please guide us in carrying out the 6 paramitas. We hope to transfer the merits of listening to the Buddha's teachings to all beings in the Dharma realms. May we all seek and realize supreme enlightenment. O great compassionate Buddha, please accept our sincerest prayer. O great compassionate Buddha, please accept our sincerest prayer.
Sansai,
Thank
Sansai,
you.
Sansai. Thank you so much, Venerable. My friends, please bow to our teacher. Thank you, Venerable. Friends, this recording will be uploaded onto the Buddhism-dot-net YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. So if you're inspired to practice dana or generosity towards Venerable Juewei, please donate directly to Nantian Institute. We'll be sharing the link by chat and by email. And next week, Venerable will be back for the, now I learned to count, 6 realization of cravings. Don't miss it. Thank you, my friends.